Alright, I'm good to go. Let's get started. First of all, I want to get the little mushies out of the way. I'd just like to say that I'm absolutely honored to be teaching people that I admire so much. I'm really humbled by this, but this is an honor for me. This is so cool to be able to show you guys this, and even more so the fact that you guys really like what I do. So I really appreciate that. You guys know that I love Bob Ross. Always watched him for years, watched him paint, and I've also made it clear that I've made it my mission over the years to adapt that procedure into the digital realm, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And let's just get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just fill in a color in the background. So I'm just going to color fill the background, the very bottom layer. Okay, that being done, I'm going to choose another color. Now, Kadima showed me this really cool triple sky color trick, and I'm just going to keep this simple. Now, Bob always painted from the back to the front. Traditional painting says you paint from the back and you come forward, and that's pretty much, I mean, we don't have to because we have layers, so we can start in the front if we want. But for the sake of just sticking with Bob's technique, I'm going to do it like he did, and we're going to work from the back to the front. So first thing we're doing is the sky. I'm using, I'm going to use just like a pale, sunset. I kind of like the warm sunset color. So I'm going to come in from the other side with vector, set at 50% and somewhere near the middle. And we'll just wash in a gradiated sky. Gradiated, is that a word? I just made it up. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I haven't done this before. I don't really know how this works. All right, I don't want to send these things too fast. This is the very bottom layer, and I'm going to next take vector at full opacity, put it on gradient. I chose a nice warm sunset kind of color, and I'm just going to color half of it with that. You guys are you missing a lot of this? Because I don't want you to, don't worry so much about it. I'm going to type up all the notes, so you really don't have to worry about this. You're just more watching, and you can read the notes later. And so anyway, I'm going to put the color in now. That's all on the bottom layer, and I'm going to the next layer up, and we're going to work on the clouds. There are a lot of great brushes. I use the ones that, if you go to the community brushes and just look in the department where it's nature, I think, there are plenty of great brushes. I don't care to reinvent anything right now. I may later on. But I'm just going to use one of the standard brushes that I found in the nature thing. So you can use any one you want. So I'm going with Okay. What Bob Ross used to do was once he got the first layer of clouds in, he would soften and erase everything behind the front edge. I'm going to just take the brush, the airbrush, I'm going to put it on erase, and then I'm going to slowly take off kind of opacity about 50%. Just gradually take it off the back edge of the cloud, leaving the front edge. What I just did is I laid in some clouds, just using a standard cloud brush, no particular setting, just experiment, see what you like, and I erased the back edge of it. After I do that, I repeat the process. I do it again. I put the clouds in and erase the back edge. When I say the back edge, I mean the side that is not the shadow side. The side that is not facing where the sun is. That's what you want to soften and erase. So you want the edge facing the sun to be stronger. There are actually two styles of skies. I'm going to show you both. This is the traditional Bob Ross one. Other people were interested in the more cartoony version that I did. I'll show you that in a minute. I'll show you the second style. It's done with vectors. It's done with vectors on gradient. You can do them at 100%. You can back them off a little bit. It's a cool technique. I have another tip. I'm going to type this in because it's too long to say. I'm going to type in a specific tip to make this work. Right now I'm using the third layer. It doesn't matter. I'm only using a different layer just to draw this out for you. And I'll explain it after I do it. That's the style that I used in a seascape that I did, and a lot of people ask me how to do that. And all you really have to do is to remember to have all the little arcs that you draw face your light source. That's the main key, and don't cross over your lines if you can help it. If you cross over your lines, it punches funny little triangular holes in the cloud. Now, I did it there. It's not perfect. I hit undo a million times. So I wouldn't be happy with that, but I'm just showing you how to do it, so I'm not going to correct any of this. So don't cross over the line and end up somewhere back where you started. It's just a different look. It's not natural. It's more cartoony, illustrative, like anime style. I want to move on. I want to get past the clouds here. We've kind of covered both aspects of that as much as I want to. And I'm happy to, I'll fine-tune this in private lessons for you guys. If you want to ask me questions, we can fine-tune this. But I want to move on. I'm up to the, now I'm reusing the third layer. I just cleared off the anime style clouds. Now I'm going to show you how to drop in a mountain. Vector, 100% in over, because you're on a new layer. So that's what we're going with. I'm choosing a nice kind of, a dark earthy color. Gradient is off, by the way. The technique I'm going to show you now for getting the texture on the mountain, this will work with trees, it will work with seascapes for ocean waves, it will work for tree bark. It's a very versatile technique, and it uses the same settings that I'm using right now. This is the first layer, and I'm going to show you how to kind of dance in these highlights. Now I'm going to pick the color from the opposite side of the sky and use that to do the other side. I'm going to darken the color down though so it's more shadowed. Jim, I'm not really deciding. I'm kind of letting it just happen. I'm paying attention to how I perceive the slope of the hill is, and then just doodling. I'm just scribbling, and this is where the talc or the baby powder comes in handy, because you want that rubber tip to just glide. I'm just scribbling. I'm not worrying about details at all. I'm just letting them happen. Is the audio going okay? Am I doing better with the audio? I'm trying to kind of click it on and wait and then just kind of pausing. Is it better now? Good, okay. That's where I want to be. I don't want you guys missing anything. The second, I'm going to do a second pass And this technique works for, again, the trees and everything. I'm going to do a second pass with each color, and I'm going to set the opacity. The only difference is I'm setting the opacity for half. I'm putting the gradient on. Excuse me, let me back up. I'm only putting the gradient on. That's the only difference. Got to keep this straight in my head. Just changing it, putting gradient on. I'm going over the same side with their color, with its respective color. This is where you get the cool shadows. Nice thing is, that's way too much highlight, but you can go right back in with the underground color and negate a lot of that. But with the same technique, I'm just choosing different colors now and playing around. And I won't do this too long because I don't want to stay too long at this. I just want you to see this. So that's basically it. That's how you get texture in the mountains. I'm not going to overwork it. We're just going to call that good, even though there's a big embarrassing blue blotch on the extreme right-hand side. We're going to pretend we don't see that. And we're going to, most of this gets covered up. You don't want to get married to, like, oh, I love that cloud right there, because chances are a tree is going over it anyway in this thing. So don't get married to any particular thing. Chances are you're going to cover over a mistake anyway. So we're going to move forward and move to the foothills. We're going to do the foothills next, like Bob Ross does. We're going to come forward one more layer and work on the nice little pine trees. So grab a pine tree brush at full opacity and start with a light greenish color. On the next layer up, we're going one more layer. I'm going to choose a slightly darker color as I come forward. This is where traditional painting kicks in, because you have to think you're working the backmost trees. I want those to be the lightest. You want things to be lighter as they recede into the distance, darker as they come close to you. So I'm going to slowly work in darker tones, leaving just the tippy tops of the trees, the lighter ones showing behind it, and I'll do that and gradually bring that edge forward. No, that's not the grass. That's a tree brush, just at a really tiny size. It's just, think distant pine trees. These brushes are all in the nature section of the community brushes. So yeah, that's how you get the distance. I tend to like to put the shadows coming towards you. If you actually watch Bob Ross, he does it in reverse. You'll see his highlights on the front side of things. I tend to think that the drama is starting with back and moving forward. I'll show you a little more about that later on, as far as when we get into how we treat each layer. I'm just showing you right now how to put in a foothill, and we'll deal with depth a little later. So I'm just going to fill in the rest with just some solid, the darkest green there. I'm just going to fill in from that point down. It could be vector, it could be anything, just something quick. Now we go up to the next layer. Now you could take the time and put extra trees in there and whatnot, but again, I just want to move this along because it's already been 40 minutes, and I was hoping to be a little further along. But so let's come up to the next one more layer forward, just sort of the next closest layer of trees, and I'll make them elms, and we'll vary the color and pretty much do the same technique. I'm not changing. It's still 100% opacity. I'm just choosing a different brush, that's all. Just sticking a tree brush, and we're going to play with the colors a little more, make it almost a little autumn-like. Monster lover. You gotta stop, dude. You gotta stop. This is a classroom. This is just like school. You gotta sit down and be quiet, listen to the teacher. Cut it out. I can show you really quickly how to do the snow caps. I feel like I'm kind of going backwards, but I can throw some on the top of the mountains really quick. It's the same thing. You use the vector, the same technique, except you just turn it to white. That's basically it. And use the opacity. I really don't want to go backwards. I'd rather show you that in a separate class. But yes, I can show you how to do that if you catch up with me at a later time. I really want to keep moving forward here. What I'm doing with the trees, I'm just like mixing up the colors, you know what I mean? It's kind of throw a few orange ones in there, a few green ones, and then I'm going to start bringing those colors darker and again towards the front, leaving the tips so you can see them. Again, it's just another layer of depth the same way. That texture for the mountains, it really, I don't have a better way to do it. See, the whole Ross thing was to just let these things happen that he called happy accidents, and I kind of subscribe to that. It's just dancing, making sure that tip of the stylus or your finger or whatever is just moving just as free as it can, and then just scribble those lines in. Nature doesn't overthink anything. It doesn't think about how to do the textures. It just does them, and that's what you try to get into that. Try to get into that with it. Now I want to show you, now that we have a couple of layers to work with, I want to show you some tricks for attaining more depth. I kind of showed Mark these a little bit. He's already clued in. He's ahead of you guys. What we can do to make some real depth between these things are contrast and focus. Those two things are going to work magic for you to really get some depth. Watch what happens to the mountain when I treat it with both a blur and lowering the just the contrast of it. Those are the only two things I'm going to do with the mountain layer, and you'll see that it really pushes it into the background. Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome the way it just all of a sudden it's way in the background? There's another trick. Now the first little row of foothills that you see, the darkest row of trees, you can paint it right on the mountain layer, or if you're a layer fanatic like I am, I would put it as a movable layer between the two. I'm just going to paint right on the mountain layer just to save time. How you manage your layers is really something you'll have to figure out, but I'm just going to paint right on the mountain layer with, I'm just going to put some mist in there. It's just basically I'm taking a white airbrush on a low opacity, very low, and I'm just going to dance that in and just build it up until I like it. And when you see this fog in between these two, you're really going to like this. You're really going to like this. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm going to do the same thing between the next two layers that you see, the elm tree and the pine tree. I'm going to put the same fog in between those, and I'm actually going to blur the pine trees a little bit, just a little tiny bit to push them back. I'm going to do the same thing basically that you just saw. I'm doing it with the pine tree layer. I experiment. I can't really tell you how much blur. All I know is that I know when I'm overdoing it and I back it off. I did it a couple of times just to make sure I liked it, to get it right. Do what looks good to you. If you like it super blurry, that's your choice. The thing is, as you come forward, each layer will be a little sharper. So as you get into the foreground, that's going to be your most detailed, your sharpest. So as things recede, that's when you lower the contrast and blur them. And then you drop this mist in between each layer, and it just makes it pop. I mean, you can see it there. It's beautiful. We're an hour into this, and about an hour. Does anybody want a 5-minute break? Anybody need a break? Because the next thing we're going to do, when we come back, Sketch Club FM, I'm going to show you how to do reflections in water and all of that. I'll probably have to condense some layers and whatnot, but anybody need a break? Are we ready? Students, sit down. Shut up. Mark, quit pulling that girl's hair. Alright, for those of you following along, this might be a little irritating because in order to do water, I have to shove these layers up so we have some room to work with. Everything's kind of sitting low, so I'm going to be dragging my layers up to make room for the water. I'm going to try to wrap this up by, it's 9 o'clock my time, 7 minutes after 9 by my incorrect iPad evidently. So I'm going to try to wrap this up in another hour. I'll try to do it in less, but I don't want to short you any details either. I don't want to leave out anything important, but yeah, I'll try to scamper along here and we'll see what we can do. I'm going to basically talk about logical and illogical reflections. Very simple. A logical reflection is you turn the mountain upside down and make a reflection. I will be doing that. I'll also be doing that with the with another layer as well. It's a logical reflection. It makes sense. The sky, on the other hand, say if it was a different way. I had one the other day that when I tried to reverse it, it killed all this really nice color I had in one spot, so I didn't do it. That's an illogical reflection. Who cares? It's a painting, okay? So I'm going to flip a couple of things. You know, I'm assuming you know how to do this. I'm just going to just flip some layers and then we'll show you how to turn that into water. what I just did there, I dragged the mountain up where you could see it. I had a layer underneath, I copied it down, flipped that version, and just transformed it so it lined up. Not a big deal. Then I dragged that mountain layer back down to where it originally belonged. I'm going to do the same thing with, I think, the foreground layer, and I'll do it with all the layers just so it makes sense. We'll go with a logical reflection. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to bother to do it with the other layer. Okay, so what we need is a shoreline. We have to drop that in, so I'm going to do that on a layer, the topmost layer now, and I'm going to put it in right where you would expect to see it, right where that front line of trees meets itself on the water, meets its own reflection on the water's edge. I'm just going to take a vector and on full opacity and just kind of throw one in, not worry too much about the details. I'm doing something wrong. I don't really know why it's not behaving. I'm fully expecting a shoreline in there, and I'm getting little squiggles. Change of plans, I'm going to throw it in with a brush. Really doesn't matter. All you need is a brown squiggly line. Doesn't matter how you get it. Thank you. That's exactly what happened. I just checked that, and that's exactly what I did. Doesn't matter. I have my brown line in there. Now you can shade this by turning, you know, the layer into, or turning a brush into on mode, and you know, put some darkness in the back. I'm just going to kind of leave it one tone for right now. I'd rather get through it. I'd rather go back at this point and try to fill in details. I want you to get just the basic mechanics of this, and then we'll go back and mess around with some details later. So we're just going to go very quickly from this point. Just to make the shoreline, I'm going to put just a little bit of white, just a little bit of white on the front edge of that shoreline, just to look like little water lines. I'm going to use the brush in on mode because I want it just hitting that front edge, or I should say the bottom edge of it. So this is how that looks. This is just a regular brush, not using vectors, 100%, just putting in that little water line that Bob always did. Okay, this is where it gets kind of fun. I kind of wish the green in the trees was a little more texture. I wish there was a little more. I'm not gonna. Well, you know what? I might put some dark in there just so you see the effect a little better, because it's kind of a monotone green. So I'm just going to put something in there that we can begin to pull those reflections down and across, just like Ross used to do with the paint. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the smear brush. As soon as I put in just something a little more interesting to play with reflection-wise. So let me do that first. That's where we are. We're up on the 5th layer. I've condensed prior layers that ordinarily I wouldn't, but I'm just trying to get things moving along. So I'm making these decisions that I normally wouldn't make. I would leave the fog layers and everything movable, but so anyway, in the state it's in now, it just happens to be in the 5th layer. I'm the kind of guy that I'll use as many layers as I can to accomplish one of those depths, and then I'll collapse them. So I really get the most out of the layers that I have. I don't like making those committing decisions, but hey, that's what I have to do. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna take the smear brush with kind of a gritty kind of a texture. It's the fourth row down and the fourth brush over, the one that looks like a bunch of stipples. I'm going to use smear, and I'm going to use that brush. This is where you want that talcum powder on your stylus again, because you want very smooth, nothing dragging, and you want to pull those reflections. Normally I wouldn't have little tree trunks sticking where you can see them, but it doesn't matter. We're going to texture those out. I'm going to pull straight down on the layer underneath the shoreline, so it won't affect that. Starting right at the shoreline, I'm going to pull straight down with the smear brush, well, sorry, I cut the audio out there. I'm not going to use full opacity. I'm kind of try to coax it, maybe 50%, and we'll see what that does. By the way, the smear brush is pretty big. You can use it as the biggest setting that you can get. So I'm going to pull those reflections straight down now, all the way across. If I had taken the time to put a little more texture in, you know, a little like a bush here and this and that, there would be more interesting reflections. But, you know, you can make that happen when you do this on your own. I'm going to drag through one more time straight down. I'm just going to jack the brush density up a little more. I want those reflections a little bit longer, just a little bit. Okay, this is the cool part too, because just like Bob used to do, I'm going to back off on the smear a little bit. I don't want some big monstrous effect here. I'm going to go directly across, and it has to be absolutely straight across. It looks funny if you don't. It just, yeah, you'll notice it. So I'm going to go directly parallel with the bottom edge of the water, and just pull those reflections to one side and the other, using the smear on about 50%. Again, I wish there was more happening in that on the shoreline so you could really see how that nicely pulls across. I'm not getting the action that I want, but you can see how, you know, it gives it that watery effect. It smears back and forth. It looks exactly like the way Bob Ross used to get his reflections to look. And then you go in with, you could use a brush on single pixel and just put in some white lines here and there. Just, you know, kind of put them in. You'll see how I do it. It's just, you can find your own way to do it. I like to use, I'll use a brush on one, just way down, and just bright light, or bright white I mean, and just put some of those in there. I also find it helpful to use the line setting when I do this because I kind of suck at drawing perfectly straight lines. I love having the app take care of it for me. So this is how you get nice little water reflections throughout the pond. So this is how that goes. So you can see, you know, with a little more finesse, again, in the interest of time, I'm kind of toss these things in here, but you guys are smart enough. You know, if you use a different tool or whatever, you'll get the effect that you want. I'm not saying everything I'm doing is the tool to use. I experiment all the time, so this is just an idea of how to use that straight line tool to get those nice little water reflections. So that's basically how to do water. That's the whole thing. You make the reflection, invert it, you know, the logical reflection, use the smear, pull it straight down with some kind of toothy, comey kind of effect, and then go directly across perpendicular to that, throw some white lines in, and there you go, you got water. It's easy. Alright, I'm going to move up to the next closest layer. The shore that you are standing on, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to put you on the shoreline. I'm going to use a grass brush. I'm going to do pretty much the same technique that you saw me do for the foothills well, the foothills, yeah. I didn't do it on the mountain. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just using a grass brush and just using the next layer up, full opacity, and a nice kind of happy green grass color. So we're going with that next. For those of you counting, this will be on the 6th layer up. This is above the shore. That was where we left off. The last layer, number 5, was the shoreline. And so now I'm working on the 6th layer, the near foreground. Back to freehand mode, by the way. I was trying to do that with line. It wasn't working out so well. I got a crush on all you guys. This is awesome. I'm having a lot of fun. So anyway, yeah, you can see that the same technique that I used for the pine tree foothills way in the distance, I did the same thing, light to dark coming forward. I did the same thing with the more deciduous, is that what they are? The elm trees and whatnot. The closer foothills, did the same thing, lighter to darker. I played with the color more because, you know, leaves changing and whatnot. You got to mix it up. You got to think like nature does. Go random. Don't worry about stuff. Go quick. Just go quick. Nature doesn't overthink things. You don't overthink things. Just go with it using the basic techniques. So now I'm gonna stick a tree in here. I hate this part. I hate drawing trees. Forgive me. I'm going to use vector. Doesn't matter if you're comfortable with a brush. However you want to put that big, you know, the trunk in that to stick some leaves on. That's all I care. I have a hard time drawing trees, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm going to do it underneath this grass layer. I'm going to bring a layer down underneath it, which will be the new 6th layer. The grass layer becomes the 7th. So I'm going to do the tree on that so that the grass covers it up. All right, let me know. You know, I'm kind of not really looking for questions. I'm kind of clipping along here kind of fast, so I hope I'm not missing anybody's questions. But so yeah, here we go. I'm going to drop in a tree, really dark color, and we'll see how this goes. Well, thank God we're covering most of that mess up. But before we do, I'm going to show you how to do tree bark really quickly. It works the same way as the mountain. If you remember how to do the mountain, this is the exact same technique. I'm just going to scribble stuff in. I'm crossing over lines. I'm not worrying about it. I'm going to kind of let the tree show me, yeah, we can throw some knots in. It kind of naturally happens. You don't really have to worry about it if you're clipping along. And I'm just kind of, you got to think like bark, close together, close grain. I'm just scribbling this stuff in, and again, you come back, you have to end where you started, otherwise you run the risk of getting some really awkward straight line between your start and end points. So just finish where you started. I'm going to pick a nice highlight color. Easy, I'm just going to pick the sky color on the sun side and use that as a highlight. Oh, I know, I hate doing branches too. I hate them. That's why I cover them with leaves. At any rate, I have the vector chosen. I have the highlight color chosen. I have the opacity set at about 70% because you kind of like, you know, interesting things to happen when this interacts with itself. So I have opacity at about 70%, and gradient is, sorry, I had to double check. Gradient is off. Okay? All right, that that looks pretty hideous right at this point. And this is where turning the gradient on, and you can go back and forth between the basic color of the tree, the really super dark color, and the light color. Just choose colors back and forth. You know, just sample them and keep going back and forth. But I'm going to turn the gradient on and start working with the dark color and sort of begin to shadow this. Thank you. It's actually kind of a sucky tree, and I would have actually, in real life, hit undo a million times. Probably would have cleared the layer and just gotten a new tree. But anyway, for the sake of demonstration, that gets the point across. You just scrub in quickly, get that talcum powder on the stylus and whatever, because you want that thing just dancing, just gliding on the screen, and just scrub it in, and just make sure you finish where you start. Then go back in with a gradient and drop your shadows in gently and massage here and there. Right, nature does not think about anything, it just does it. Don't worry about it. You approach this the same way. That's what undo is for. And honestly, I think the mistakes are more interesting to look at anyway. I'd much rather try to make a mistake work than to keep going back and saying, no, I didn't do it right, I have to try again. So work with your mistakes. Celebrate your mistakes. Perfection or imperfection is wonderful. Alright, it's leaf time. I want to try to wrap this up by 10 o'clock, so it's time to throw some leaves on this. And again, you have to think from back to front, light to dark, same kind of thing. I like to put the light on first and then drop the shadows in. I find it... Bob used to go the other way. He'd drop the shadows in and then put the highlights on it, and it's just kind of garish. I like to put the highlights on and then tone them down with a darker color. The same thing that I've done with the foothills and the grass and everything. Same kind of approach. I've just taken it up to the leaves. And yeah, we're dancing. That's what we're doing. We're dancing stuff in. Dancing around. That's my catchphrase. Happy little trees. We're dancing stuff in. All right. Anyway, so I'm going to throw some bright leaves. I'll put them on the same... Actually, I'll put them behind. I'll put them on the layer just for the sake of it, underneath the tree. I want them behind these branches. I'm going to go over that same batch of leaves. Actually, I'm going to do it with on mode. I don't want more leaves, but I want to darken the ones there. So I'm switching the brush to on mode with a darker color and just kind of, you know, pooping some of those out in there. So that's what we're doing. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing that you just saw me do with the same colors and the same procedure, but I'm going to do it on the I might as well do it right on the tree layer because I want them now in front of the trunk, and I'll do the same thing so it gives it that same kind of depth. Ordinarily I might put it on a separate layer, but you know, go beat up Jim until he gives us more layers. anything really from this point on is just kind of decorating the grass in front. There's a wonderful flower brush that I found recently that I love to use, and I'll just yeah, throw a few nice little flowers in the grass, and I'll sign it Bob Ross, and we can call it done. So I'm just going to throw some flowers in. That's it, guys. That's landscapes as easy as I can make them for you. I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I'm disappointed in the water reflection. I'll show you something real quick. Let me show you a cool trick with the water. I'll go back because one thing about water, it has its own color. It doesn't just reflect what's there. It's not a mirror. It's not silver. It has a color and depth. So I'm going to do a wash, 50%. With the vector on gradient. I'm just going to throw a really nice, like an aqua overneath, overneath. I just invented a new word. You'll see where I put the thing. You'll see. I just added a little bit of aqua to the water because I wasn't happy with the reflections. But just to let you know that you can actually throw a layer of aqua over those reflections. I overdid it a little bit, but if I went more subtly, you can get some beautiful depth, and it's like you can see the algae in the water. You know what I mean? So it's just one more little trick. But there you go. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed teaching you. And I'll be doing this again in about 4 hours. I'll be doing this at 2 in the morning my time. So I don't know what that is for you guys, but if you missed anything, I'll be embarrassing myself again in about 4 hours. And I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and class is over. Class dismissed. Again, guys, don't worry about remembering any of this. If you can't catch the other class, don't think you have to catch that to in case you missed anything. I'm going to be typing up my notes and posting them in the forum so that you can have these steps right there. Don't worry. I just hope you enjoyed it and kind of got the basic gist of it. And, yeah, that's it. So don't worry about the notes.